Mark Cruz pulled into the parking lot of his logistics warehouse, a modest but thriving hub he'd built from the ground up on the edge of a suburban neighborhood. The sprawling lot, designed to accommodate delivery trucks, employee vehicles, and his own car, was the lifeblood of his small business. But this morning, something was wrong. As he steered into the lot, he noticed a chaotic array of unfamiliar vehicles, sedans, SUVs, even a minivan, scattered across spaces clearly marked private property. His heart sank. A delivery truck idled helplessly at the entrance, unable to navigate the mess. Mark parked on the curb, his frustration mounting, and stepped out to assess the situation. The cars bore no connection to his business. Some had stickers from a nearby residential community, managed by a homeowners association, HOA, Mark had rarely dealt with. His warehouse was deliberately separate from the neighborhood to avoid residential entanglements. Confused but determined to resolve the issue, he called his assistant, Karen, who was already inside. "Karen, do we authorize some kind of event in the lot?" he asked, his voice tight. "No, Mark," she replied. "The guys are complaining. They can't find parking, and we've got deliveries scheduled." Mark sighed. "I'll handle it. I'll call you back." He decided to confront the HOA directly. The community center, a short walk away, was pristine, manicured flower beds, freshly painted fences, and smooth roads screamed to the HOA's ample budget. Inside, a receptionist greeted him with a practiced smile. "I need to speak to someone in charge," Mark said, barely containing his irritation. "There's a problem with my warehouse parking lot." Moments later, he sat across from Ms. Langston, the HOA president, a composed woman in her late 40s with an air of unshakable
Mark explained
authority. The situation, but Ms. Langston's expression remained impassive. "I'm sorry for the inconvenience," she said coolly, "but our residents have limited parking. Your lot is often empty, so we saw it as a practical solution for overflow." Mark blinked, stunned. "You decided this without asking me? That's private property. My business depends on that lot. Trucks can't even get in." Ms. Langston's tone sharpened. "The HOA has the authority to act in the community's best interest. Your lot is adjacent to our neighborhood. It seemed logical." Mark's anger flared. "Logical? This is trespassing. You have 48 hours to clear the lot, or I'll take action." Her eyes narrowed. "Think carefully, Mr. Cruz. The HOA has resources." The meeting ended with Mark storming out, his resolve hardened. Back at the warehouse, Karen and the staff awaited updates. "They're claiming they can use our lot," Mark fumed. "I gave them 48 hours. If they don't comply, we're towing." Karen nodded. "Good. This is absurd." Over the next 2 days, the lot remained packed with residents' cars, some parked so carelessly they blocked warehouse doors. Residents came and went, oblivious to the issue, some even waving cheerfully at Mark. On the second evening, with more cars than ever, Mark called his lawyer, Mr. Jacobs, to ensure his next steps were bulletproof. He posted bold, "No parking," private property signs around the lot, photographing each one for evidence. That night, sleep came fitfully. He knew a confrontation loomed. The next morning, Mark arrived before dawn, ready to reclaim his lot. At 7 a.m., the towing company rolled in, led by Dave, a no-nonsense driver. "This could get messy," Dave said, eyeing the crowded lot. Mark handed over his documentation, property deeds, photos, and a certified letter to the HOA. "Looks airtight," Dave said, and the crew began towing, starting with the cars blocking the warehouse doors. By mid-morning, the lot was clearing, and Mark felt a surge of relief as delivery trucks finally accessed the loading dock. Residents soon noticed. A woman in a bathrobe, clutching a coffee mug, stormed up. "What's happening?" "My husband's car is gone," she snapped. "This is private property," Mark replied calmly. "I warned the HOA. Contact the towing company to retrieve your car." She huffed and left, but more residents arrived, some shouting, others confused. Mark stayed composed, handing out flyers with the towing company's details as Karen helped manage the chaos. By noon, the lot was nearly empty, a small victory in a brewing war. Then Ms. Langston appeared, flanked by 2 HOA board members, her face a mask of fury. "Mr. Cruz, this is unacceptable," she barked. "You had no right to tow our residents' cars." Mark stood firm. I had every right. This is my property, and you ignored my warnings. I've documented everything. She threatened legal action, but Mark didn't flinch. Go ahead. I followed the law. You didn't. A board member tried to mediate, suggesting a compromise, but Mark cut him off. The lot is off limits. End of story. Ms. Langston stormed away, her entourage trailing behind. The next day, an envelope arrived at the warehouse. A formal letter from the HOA, signed by Ms. Langston, accusing Mark of disrupting the community and threatening a lawsuit unless he allowed parking again. Mark called Jacobs, who laughed. They're bluffing. Their case is baseless. Keep documenting, and we'll draft a response. Mark also noticed flyers around his property, bearing the HOA's logo and accusing him of endangering community harmony. Furious, he collected them and sent photos to Jacobs, who suggested a cease and desist letter for potential defamation. To counter the HOA's smear campaign, Mark posted on their community forum, detailing his side with photos of the signs and letters. The post sparked a firestorm. Some residents called him selfish, but others criticized the HOA's overreach. A fellow business owner, Richard, shared a similar experience, warning Mark to stay firm. They're bullies, Richard said. They tried to use my lot too. Don't back down. Emboldened, Mark prepared for a legal fight, filing a complaint with local authorities and consulting a PR expert to manage the growing attention. The dispute soon caught a journalist's eye. Rachel, investigating HOA abuses, interviewed Mark. I acted to protect my business, he told her. The HOA ignore my rights. This is about accountability. Her article, HOA Overreach Sparks Property Rights Battle, went viral, exposing the HOA's tactics and rallying public support for Mark. Under pressure, the HOA invited him to their next board meeting. Against his instincts, Mark attended, advised by Jacobs to assert his position publicly. At the meeting, Ms. Langston framed the HOA's actions as a community necessity, painting Mark as uncooperative. When he spoke, he laid out the facts, his warnings, the signs, the legal steps. This isn't about being uncooperative, he said. It's about my rights. The HOA misled you and ignored me. The room erupted in applause from some residents, while others demanded accountability from the board. One man, Mr. Davis, called for new leadership, exposing deeper community frustrations. Days later, a board member emailed Mark an apology, admitting the HOA's mistake and promising policy changes. Ms. Langston resigned, and elections were planned. Mark's victory was bittersweet. Relationships with some residents were strained, but he'd stood his ground. As he locked up the warehouse, gazing at the empty lot, he felt proud. The fight had been exhausting, but it proved that standing up to overreach was worth it. Whatever came next, Mark was ready.